Have you ever noticed how your presence makes others uncomfortable? You did nothing wrong. You didn't attack anyone. You simply chose to follow your own path. But suddenly, the way people look at you has changed. The words they speak have grown sharper. The atmosphere around you feels heavier. And the strangest part? This comes from the very people who were supposed to support you. The ones who raised you now turn their backs on you. Those who once loved you now criticize you. Those who promised to stand by your side have disappeared. Why? What is happening? Imagine you're in a completely dark room. For years, everyone inside has grown used to the darkness. They've learned to move without seeing, to live without recognizing the truth. But then one day, you light a candle. The light doesn't hurt, it doesn't burn, but it reveals. It shows what was once hidden. It exposes what no one wanted to face. And how do people react? They cover their eyes. They run. They shout. They try to snuff out the light. This is what happens when you awaken spiritually. Your light doesn't harm anyone, but it exposes everything that was kept in the shadows. And some people aren't ready to see. Why do the ones who love you most become your biggest critics when you awaken? This happens to every chosen one. And if you're going through this, it's not a coincidence. There's a deeper reason, one that few people understand. And today, I'm going to reveal it to you. But first, tell me, have you ever felt this kind of resistance within your own family? Share your experience in the comments below because your story might help someone else. Get ready. What I'm about to tell you might completely change the way you see your awakening. Let's begin. If you've made it this far, it means this message resonated with you in some way. Maybe you've lived through this exact experience. Maybe, over the past months or years, you've felt your relationship with your family shift, subtly yet intensely. People who once supported you now look at you with suspicion. Small comments that used to go unnoticed now carry a different weight. You can feel it in their gaze, in their tone of voice, in their silence. They may not say anything outright, but you sense it. Something has changed. And deep down, you know this shift isn't just within you, it's also in the way others perceive you, and then it hits you. Some people will never look at you the same way again. And then doubt creeps in. Why is this happening to me? You haven't done anything to anyone. You didn't distance yourself on purpose, didn't attack your family's beliefs or traditions. So why does it feel like they're treating you differently? Why, instead of support, do you feel resistance? Why have the very people who were supposed to stand by you become the first to try and pull you back? If you feel this way, know that you are not alone. This happens to nearly everyone who experiences a spiritual awakening. And here's the part no one tells you. Awakening isn't just about expanding your consciousness, raising your energy, or deepening your connection to the divine. Awakening is also about confrontation. It brings you face to face with truths that were once hidden. But these aren't just your own truths. You become a mirror, reflecting back what they don't want to face. But why does this happen? The reason is deeper than you might think. Think about it. When you start changing, even in silence, it already affects everything around you. Your energy shifts, your choices shift, your perception of the world expands. You begin to recognize patterns you never noticed before. You start seeing cycles of pain and suffering that have repeated in your family for generations. And with that realization comes a deep feeling that something needs to change. You no longer want to carry certain burdens. You no longer want to follow certain traditions. You no longer want to repeat certain beliefs. You free yourself, and that is terrifying. Imagine a tree whose roots are deeply entwined in the earth. For years, that tree has grown in the same place, absorbing the same nutrients from the soil. But one day, one of its branches begins to grow beyond what was expected, reaching for more light, more space, more expansion. For the tree, this is natural, but for the roots, it feels like a threat. And what do the roots do? They try to pull it back. They try to hold its growth. They try to keep everything as it was. This is the metaphor for what happens when you awaken spiritually within your family. And then you realize something profound. Your evolution forces them to face what they have tried to keep buried for years. What many don't understand is that this resistance isn't out of malice. It's not because your family wants to see you struggle or hold you back. Most of the time, this resistance comes from fear. Fear of losing you. Fear of not recognizing you anymore. fear that your transformation will force them to confront parts of themselves they'd rather keep hidden. To them, your change represents a break from everything that was once familiar. You start challenging beliefs that have been passed down for generations. You start seeing beyond the limitations that once seemed normal, and that can be unsettling for those still trapped in that cycle. That's why so often you'll hear things like, "You've changed," and I don't know if that's a good thing. You used to be more grounded. Why are you distancing yourself from the family? This is all in your head. It's just a phase. But deep down, what these words really mean is, your transformation scares me because it forces me to look at parts of myself I'd rather ignore. And this is where many people start questioning whether they should keep going or try to fit back in. Because spiritual awakening isn't just about finding the truth. It's also about solitude. It's about realizing that not everyone will be able to walk this path with you. And that hurts. It hurts to feel like you're drifting away from the people you love. It hurts to realize that some relationships will never be the same. It hurts to know that, no matter how much you try to explain, not everyone will understand. But the question you need to ask yourself is this: are you willing to dim your light just to make others comfortable in their darkness? This is the hardest part of awakening, the part no one talks about. The part where you realize that your evolution can create distance, that the path of consciousness isn't always met with applause, that, many times, in order to find yourself, you must be willing to lose. But lose what? The illusion that everyone will support you, the illusion that you will always be understood, the illusion that love and acceptance always go hand in hand. Now, you must decide. Will you return to the old world just to be accepted, or will you continue your journey, knowing that not everyone will understand? Because the truth is this: awakening comes at a price, but so does staying where you are. So which price are you willing to pay? If this resonated with you, tell me in the comments. Do you feel like your family resists your awakening? How have you been dealing with it? I want to hear your story because it might help many others who are going through exactly what you're experiencing right now. And now let's move on to the next part, because you're about to understand exactly why this resistance happens and the hidden truth behind this barrier that so many people face. Get ready. What comes next might change the way you see all of this. You've noticed that something has changed, and now you feel the weight of that resistance. But what few people talk about is that this resistance goes beyond simple discomfort. It has deep, invisible roots, often carried through entire generations. This stage of awakening isn't just about your own evolution, it's about the shockwave it sends through everything around you. The truth is that when you awaken, you threaten a system. You become a disruptive force within a structure that has always functioned a certain way. Your family, your friends, your social circle, all of them have grown used to a version of you that fit perfectly into that system. But now, you don't fit anymore. And that terrifies them. Imagine a castle built with carefully stacked blocks. Each piece has its role, its position, its purpose. Suddenly, one of those pieces begins to move, vibrating at a different frequency. What happens? The entire castle feels the shift. The fear of collapse sets in. And to prevent that from happening, the natural reaction is to contain the piece, to keep it from moving, to make sure everything stays as it was. That piece now is you. But here's something important you need to understand. This resistance is not against you. It's against what you represent. Many people spend their entire lives trapped inside this structure, never questioning, never looking beyond. But you broke the pattern. And the moment you expand your awareness and begin to live a deeper truth, you become a threat to those who aren't ready for that shift. And here's a secret that few truly understand. Your family's resistance is not about you. It's about them, about the fears they carry, about the limiting beliefs that have been passed down for generations, about the unresolved wounds they've buried for years. Your awakening forces them to look within themselves, and for many that is unbearable. Humans have a natural tendency to avoid pain. We would rather live in a comfortable illusion than face a painful truth. So when you start talking about energy, awakening, and transformation, you are, without meaning to, shining a light on places that have remained in darkness for a long time. And some people don't want to see what that light reveals. And this is where everything starts to make sense. That's why you begin to notice strange behavior. Eyes that once held warmth now carry judgment. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel tense. Heavy silences, subtle distance, attempts to make you feel wrong for what you're experiencing. These reactions are defense mechanisms, because when you grow, when you evolve, you force those around you to confront something they've been avoiding their entire lives: the need to change. But here's the important part. You cannot carry that guilt. Your mission is not to convince anyone. It's not to make everyone understand. Your mission is to keep going. Because, whether you believe it or not, your journey might inspire the very people who reject you now. The first reaction to light is often discomfort. But over time, those who resist might realize that the same light they feared can also guide them. Resistance to spiritual awakening is also deeply connected to attachment to identity. People build their realities around beliefs that have been passed down through generations. They believe that what they learned from their parents and grandparents is the absolute truth. When you come with a different perspective, questioning those beliefs, they feel like their very identity is under threat. And the ego's natural response is to defend itself. You represent a change they are not ready to accept. Another important factor is that many people struggle with the idea that there is something beyond what they've always known. Spiritual awakening opens doors to new perspectives, new horizons, new possibilities. But not everyone wants to step out of their comfort zone. Not everyone is ready to face the unknown, and those who aren't ready will choose to deny, resist, and sometimes even attack. So how do you handle this without losing yourself in the process? The key is acceptance. Accept that not everyone will understand your journey. Accept that not everyone is ready to change. Accept that some people may drift away, and that doesn't mean you're wrong. Spiritual awakening is a personal calling, and everyone has their own timing. You cannot rush anyone's process. Beyond that, it's essential to set healthy boundaries. You can love and respect your family, but that doesn't mean you have to accept judgments or criticism that diminish your growth. Create space for yourself, protect your energy, and focus on your evolution. If this resistance has been a challenge for you, remember, you are not alone. Many people go through this. But the journey of awakening is about finding your own truth, even if it means walking for a while without the understanding of others. And in the end, what matters most is that you stay true to yourself. Now that you understand what's behind this resistance, an even deeper question arises. How do you navigate this without losing yourself? That's what we'll talk about next. Get ready, because what comes next might completely change the way you see this journey. Up until now, you've come to understand that the resistance you face isn't really about you. It's about the fears and insecurities of those around you. But now, let's go deeper. It's time to reveal the true reason behind this resistance and why it may run far deeper than it seems. Your awakening didn't start today. It was set in motion generations ago. You are breaking cycles that have existed for lifetimes, patterns that were repeated without question. And the most shocking part? More often than not, your own family has been conditioned to protect these patterns without even realizing it. They have become unconscious guardians of a system that keeps them bound. Think about it. How many beliefs and behaviors are passed down from generation to generation without ever being questioned? Religion, traditions, ways of relating to others, ideas about money, about what is right and wrong. And now, suddenly you come along and say, "This no longer makes sense to me." That alone is a threat. Because if you are right, then maybe everything they have believed their entire lives could be wrong. And that is a truth too heavy to bear. Now imagine what happens within a family system when one person starts questioning everything. It's as if you were a puzzle piece that suddenly decided to change shape. The fit that once made perfect sense no longer does. The entire system feels it and reacts, but not because they want to stop you from evolving, rather because your evolution forces them to look within themselves. This is the big revelation. Your awakening doesn't unsettle them just because you've changed. It unsettles them because your transformation forces them to question themselves. You are a mirror, a living reflection of everything so many try to keep hidden within. And that triggers two possible reactions: resistance or transformation. Some will resist. They will judge you, criticize you, and try to pull you back into their comfort zone. Others, even if they don't admit it, will start to question things. They will begin to see the world differently. Because deep down, your transformation plants seeds. Some will sprout quickly, others may take years. But one thing is certain, no one walks away unchanged after coming into contact with truth. And here's the most important part. You cannot control how others react to your awakening, but you can control how you respond to it. You can choose to engage in the struggle, to try to convince them, perhaps to exhaust yourself seeking understanding, or you can simply keep walking your path, knowing that your growth speaks for itself, that your presence, your transformation, your example are already enough. The resistance you feel has roots that go far beyond momentary judgment. It stretches back through generations. Think about how many of your ancestors may have felt the call to awaken but couldn't follow it, out of fear, repression, or circumstance. Now, you have this opportunity. And with it comes a burden, yes, but also an immense responsibility. They are not rejecting you. They are running from what your light reveals about themselves. For those who have never dared to question, your courage may feel like an attack, and that is why they resist so fiercely. But there is something even deeper we need to understand. You are not alone on this journey. No matter how much it feels like no one around you understands what you're going through, the truth is that countless others are walking this same path. There is an invisible network of chosen ones awakening all over the world. People who, just like you, are breaking patterns, shattering chains, and bringing new awareness into this reality. And now, a warning. This resistance can appear in subtle ways, but it can also be intense. Some will try to make you feel wrong, manipulating your emotions so you doubt your path. Others may distance themselves, treating you with coldness or even sarcasm. And when that happens, remember, it's not about you, it's about what you represent. You don't have to fight against this resistance. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just be. Because when you stand firm in your truth, you inspire without needing to say a single word. And that is the greatest power you can have. Now that you know the truth, how do you move forward without letting this break you? How do you stay strong without being consumed by the need for acceptance? That is what we will explore next. And the answer may be more liberating than you ever imagined. Now that you understand the depth of the resistance you face, a new challenge arises. How do you navigate this internal battle without losing yourself? Spiritual awakening changes everything. It transforms your view of the world, your priorities, your emotions, but it also places you before a painful dilemma. Follow your truth or try to preserve your bonds with those who can't understand your journey. Maybe you've asked yourself, what if I'm wrong? What if they're right? That doubt is heavy because we've been conditioned to seek acceptance, to belong, to avoid disappointing others. But now, your soul craves freedom, and that need clashes with your desire to be understood. It's like a bird that has spent its entire life inside a cage. It has always looked outside but never truly knew what lay beyond. One day, the door opens, and instead of flying, it hesitates. The wind on its face is unsettling. The unknown feels more threatening than the bars that once confined it. So what's harder? Staying and pretending nothing has changed, or flying and facing the fear of freedom? And then comes the temptation. Maybe it would be easier to go back, to mold yourself once again to others' expectations, to pretend nothing happened, to fit into the role they've always known you to play. But deep down, you know the truth. Once awakened, you can never truly fit back into what once felt comfortable. Here's the crucial point. You cannot carry the weight of other people's choices. If they are not yet ready to see, that does not mean you should dim your light to make them feel more comfortable. Everyone has their own timing, and forcing understanding will change nothing. So how do you handle this inner conflict? First, accept that change hurts. Some relationships will transform. Some people will distance themselves. Others may try to convince you that your path is wrong. But this is the price of evolution. Not everyone will be able to walk this path with you. And that is not your fault. True growth requires the courage to move forward, even when the journey feels lonely. Set boundaries. You can love your family, you can respect their beliefs, but you do not have to carry the fear and judgment they place upon you. Protecting your energy is an act of self-love. And remember, you are not alone. The feeling of loneliness can be overwhelming in this process, but there are thousands of people going through the same transformation. Finding your new community, connecting with those who understand your journey can make all the difference. The greatest trap of awakening isn't outside of you. It's within. It's the voice that tells you to give up. that whispers it might be easier to go back to how things were. But think about it. Was it really easier, or was it just more familiar? And then the most important question arises. Are you ready to trust your journey? The universe tests you. It wants to know if you truly want to move forward. If you hold firm, you will discover something incredible. A new world, new connections, a peace that no longer depends on the acceptance of others. Now the real challenge. How do you keep your light shining without letting external judgment extinguish it? How do you stay strong when everything around you seems to pull you back? That's what we'll talk about next. You've made it this far. You've faced resistance, battled internal conflict, felt the weight of transformation firsthand. And now comes the most important moment of all. What will you do with everything you've learned? How do you move forward without losing yourself? How do you keep your light shining even when the world around you seems determined to dim it? The first thing you need to understand is this. There is no going back. You have changed. You have seen, felt, and understood something you can no longer ignore. Trying to fit back into who you were before will only bring more pain and frustration. The past may call you, but it no longer belongs to you. And here's a secret few truly understand. Real freedom doesn't come from being accepted by others. It comes from fully accepting yourself. You don't need anyone's validation to know you're on the right path. The truth you feel inside you is already the confirmation that you are exactly where you need to be. But what does it truly mean to keep your light shining? It means understanding that your transformation is not a burden, it's a gift. It's not something that separates you from others, but something that can inspire those who are ready to see. It won't always be easy. Some people will still judge you, doubt you, or try to pull you back into their reality. But that no longer has power over you. Accept that some people will drift away. That doesn't mean you've lost them. It just means your paths are now different. And that's okay. True love is not about possession. It's about allowing each person the freedom to be who they truly are. The connections that are genuine will remain, even if they evolve over time. And if doubt ever creeps back in, if fear knocks at your door, remember this. Awakening is not a final destination. It's a continuous journey. There is no finish line where everything suddenly makes perfect sense forever. You will always be learning, growing, and facing new challenges. But now, you have something you didn't have before. Clarity and courage to keep moving forward. So look back for a moment. See everything you've already faced, everything you've overcome. You did not come this far just to give up now. Your path is forward. Your truth is your compass. Trust it. Now, the real question is, what will you do with the light that has awakened within you? The world needs it, and only you can decide what happens next. We've reached the end of this journey, but in reality, this is not an ending. It's a new beginning. You faced challenges, confronted doubts, endured the pain of transformation, and now you understand that your light cannot be dimmed. But there is one final question. What will you do with all of this? Spiritual awakening is not a destination. It's a path. There will never be a moment when everything is perfectly resolved, without struggles or uncertainties. You will keep growing, evolving, and facing new trials. The difference is that now you know who you really are. You have clarity, and clarity is your greatest power. The world may try to pull you back into the comfort of the old. The people around you may not understand your transformation. And in those moments, doubt may creep in. Should I really keep going? But remember this, you did not awaken by accident. You feel this truth within you. You know you can't ignore it anymore. What you have experienced up until now was not a mistake, a phase, or a fantasy. It was a real calling, and you answered it. Now, your mission is no longer to seek answers. It's to live your truth, to let your light shine, without fear, without apologizing for who you are. Some will understand you, others won't. But that does not define you. What defines you is your courage to move forward, even when the path is uncertain. And here's something even more powerful. You are not alone. Right now, many others are awakening, feeling the same struggles, the same doubts, the same challenges. Find your tribe. Connect with those who share this journey. But above all, remember this. Your light does not depend on anyone but you. The world may try to dim it, but only you decide if it will keep shining. So now, I ask you, are you ready to live your truth without fear? If this message resonates with you, comment below. I choose my truth. Let's see how many chosen ones have already awakened. Maybe someone needs to hear this right now. Awakening is just the beginning. The next step, only you can take it.